This week on today's Homeowner, we're digging into the old adage that things aren't always what they seem. Are the materials on your home faux or no? Stay tuned, find out. This week we're digging into a little trickery. You know, things are not always the way they seem. In fact, there's a little deception going on right behind me now. This is a nice looking house. It has real wood lap siding, has double pane insulated windows, and a great looking slate roof. Or does it? This week we're digging into some materials that have been designed to look like something they're really not. We're going to call the show Faux or No. In this case, it's the slate roof. It isn't really slate at all, it's a synthetic material. These homeowners live right on the coast in a very hurricane-prone area, so they wanted a roofing material that would really stand up to extreme wind conditions. And this roof has been tested to resist winds up to 110 miles per hour. But they didn't want a roof that would look very institutional or commercial looking. They wanted something that would really fit the character and the feel of the home. I think they found the right solution. The manufacturer also claims that the shingles will resist algae growth and damage from impact and fire. So we decided to let Joe and Alan put it to the test.
Well, Alan, the synthetic shingles that Danny was showing were made by a company called Da Vinci, and it's an engineered polymer. But slate is just one of the styles that it comes in.
Right, they've got the cedar shake here too. I like this because it's got the grain, the texture in it.
It's kind of like a shake.
Now, something about real wood, of course, you know it's going to cup and curl over time. This, what I like about this one is that on the back, you've got this ribbed reinforcement.
Yeah, they both do. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's going to keep it flat over time. Speaking of time, minimum of 50 years that these things last. One other thing about this, as opposed to a true wood roof, is that it is fire resistant. Class A rating, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. All right, let's get to some testing. The impact resistance, we can start right here. I'm just going to use a baseball bat. In fact, I'm sure it's not going to shatter, but
just in case. Just in case.
So we're just going to imagine, you know, a fallen branch. Now, the other thing with real slate is, now that looks pretty good.
It is.
Real slate is not only heavy, but it's extremely brittle. I mean, that doesn't even really been marking, you know.
Now, I can think of a time when that'd be more brittle.
Yeah, when it's nice and cold, right? Yeah. All right, let's think about polymer. I've got one in the freezer. This will be a really good test, I think. Now, with any sort of synthetic material, when it's cold, it gets really brittle. When it gets brittle, pretty cold, right? Let's see if it...
you know, I'm going to back up on this just in case.
Yeah. Now that's pretty impressive. And again, it's not even marking it.
All right, now let's try some fire rating.
All right.
Of course, now you know when something is called a Class A fire rating doesn't mean it's not going to catch fire.
No, it just means it's not going to stay lit and it's not going to spread.
So let's just put some direct heat to it.
And that's a hot flame directly. If you did that with wood, it would probably start smoking within just a few seconds.
Let's see if we can get a little flame going and see how quick it'll go out.
There you go. That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
Fences are another great application for using synthetics to replicate a natural material like wood. This vinyl system, called cambium, is basically plastic. Now, plastic gets a bad rap for lasting forever in landfills, but that same property means it will stand up to the elements in your backyard for a long time. And since it never needs to be painted or stained to maintain its appearance, it requires less work from you. A door is another traditional use for wood on the exterior of your home. And wood doors, they look great, but they don't stay looking great for very long. The reason is because all of the sun and wind and snow really breaks down the finish on a door. And you can see how this one has deteriorated a little bit, even though it was refinished only 2 years ago. Now, refinishing can be quite a chore. You have to do all of the sanding. Then you have to clean it well. You have to apply a coat of stain and 2 coats of a polyurethane type finish in order to get it to hold up for a little while. And this one's even protected by all of this overhang, but still, it looks pretty bad. Well, the Faux solution to that problem is to go with a fiberglass door. Now, these have come a long way over the last few years, and they really do a great job at mimicking the look of real wood. And they're available in a lot of different styles and shapes with a lot of different types of window panels that are available in it. And most fiberglass doors have wood on the inside with the fiberglass skin. Now this particular one from Geldwin has an Auralast wood inside, which is resistant to any damage from moisture or termites, and that's real important. Well, this is a pretty good solution to this problem. Let's see what kind of solution Joe has in this week's Simple Solution.
Today I'm getting ready to paint the trim on the outside of this house, but first I want to prime the metal trim here. I'm sanding away the rust, I want to prime it. And I prefer to spray on the primer, because you just get a nice better finish, and then once it dries I'm going to come back and brush on the top coat of paint. But I don't want to spray paint all over the roof shingles. So I took an old cardboard shipping carton and I cut it into strips, which I can slip right under the shingle. What that does, provides a nice shield. It allows me to spray on the primer right onto the metal flashing. I'm not going to get it all over the roof shingles. There you go, look at that, perfect. Now, you can buy metal painting shields that you can slip underneath there. The problem is, first they're too short and they're not wide enough, so it's very easy to spray beyond them. Plus you have to keep moving it. In this case, you can just cut cardboard as long as you want and as many as you want, and just slip them all along the roof and just spray it all. In fact, you can even leave them in place when you come back to brush on the top coat. The other reason I like cardboard is a painting shield you have to buy, and they're $8 or $10, and this tip is absolutely free.
This week we're looking at a variety of products that are designed to look like something else without the drawback of traditional materials. Now when you're talking about the outside of a home, you want those materials to be designed to be very resistant to the harsh elements of Mother Nature. Now this historic home underwent a number of repairs recently where this whole entire handrail had to be replaced, and it was quite an undertaking because all of these balusters had to be custom turned. Cost quite a bit of money, and even with the best paint job, it eventually will have to be done again unless you use this type of material. Now this is a high-density rigid polyurethane, and it cuts and sands and paints and nails just like regular wood, but the real advantage is that it won't allow any water to penetrate, and therefore there won't be any rotting or splitting or any warping, so it's a great way to go. Also, it's resistant to any kind of termite damage. Now there's all kinds of decorative styles and different pieces that are available that really can help your curb appeal quite a bit. And this kind of material is great for the outside of your home, but also for the inside. The manufacturer of this material, Faux, also creates crown molding with matching corner blocks that eliminate the need for miter cuts. So the process is very do-it-yourself friendly. A little adhesive, a few nails, and it looks like a pro did it. Urethane is also great for replicating items like ceiling medallions, which traditionally would be made of heavier materials like plaster. Another feature that can really spice up any home, glass blocks. Glass blocks were first used back in the 1900s by manufacturing plants because it allowed plenty of natural light into the buildings, but are a lot more durable than just plate glass. And because of all of the privacy it affords, well, it became very, very popular in residential construction. Now this is a glass block. That is actually acrylic, and one way you can tell is because of the arch or radius top on these windows. That would be extremely hard with any glass blocks. And that's just one of the many distinct advantages of using acrylic, and we did a little digging and found a few more.
Well, Roger, I've seen acrylic blocks all over the place. I've seen a lot of glass blocks. What are really some of the distinct advantages of using an acrylic?
Well, the acrylic, obviously the first major advantage is the acrylic blocks are lighter weight than the glass blocks, about 70-75% lighter than a glass block. So it allows you to do a lot more with an acrylic than you can do with a glass block unit. So size-wise, operable windows, all those sort of things can be done with acrylic, which you can't accomplish with glass because of weight.
I see.
Thermal efficiency is another big advantage in acrylic. The acrylic is just naturally more thermal efficient than the glass, and we can enhance the efficiency to make Energy Star type products with our acrylic that you can't get with a glass block.
Okay, all right, well, it definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, impact resistance is another advantage of the product. We certainly have a product that will withstand an impact much greater than a glass block. And structurally in the window systems, they are some of the strongest windows in the house.
And this is where it all starts, right here.
This is what we start with. It's an impact modified acrylic. Basically, the injection molding process is a common process to any injection molder. So we basically are using acrylic rather than PVC or some other resin.
I know that from time to time you do an impact test for quality control and everything. That's pretty impressive to see exactly how that works.
Yeah, certainly we, obviously quality is an important part of the process. And we can show you, a test that really shows the difference between the strength of our block and a typical glass block.
There's a lot of ways I can think that this could be used around any home.
It's pretty easy to tell the difference between a rock and a piece of paper. But somewhere along the way, someone came up with the bright idea of printing the pattern of a rock on a piece of paper about this size, replicating it over and over, so you wind up with a surface that looks like solid stone. Well, that's Plastic Laminate's answer to faux granite. And I've installed a lot of those types of countertops in kitchens, and they really do look nice. The problem is they always fall just short of being truly convincing. Well, you need to look at this new laminate I found. This is Formica's new 180 FX, and it looks like granite. Instead of that repeating square foot pattern, they took a high-definition photograph of a 5-foot slab of granite. So when it's laid out like this, you've got all of this original pattern, the veining throughout. And this isn't your run-of-the-mill rock either. They photographed 9 varieties of Brazilian granite, very rich. Add to that the finish. It is layered with both matte and gloss, adding to that illusion, and for a fraction of the cost of true stone, you get a pretty convincing faux granite countertop.
You know, I think one of the best ways to help the environment is to conserve energy. And one of the best ways to conserve energy is using one of these. Now, this is a surge protector by Belkin. And you may be scratching your head going, how does that work, Jody? Well, let me explain it to you. You know, electrical components in your home, such as your TV, your DVD player, when they are turned off by the remote, they actually still pull power to it. So you're running up your power bill and you're using a lot of energy that you're not really needing. Well, if you plug it into the surge protector, not only are you protecting it from getting blown if there's an electrical storm, but if you plug it in here, you can turn it off every night by this little wireless switch right here. Now, this wireless switch can mount right anywhere basically that you want it to, and it's battery operated, so that when you're ready to turn those components off, turn it off at night, then in the morning when you're ready to use them, flip them back on. Now, if there are 2 components that you need to keep on continuously, say like your DVR or like a cable modem, you can plug it in here and these won't shut off, so it'll protect it against that. I think this is a great and very inexpensive way of saving energy and also saving money on your power bills.
This week we've been looking at synthetic materials for the home that mimic traditional materials, but sometimes the deception comes in the form of a technique instead of a product. My old friend David Walton is a decorative painter who's been fooling people for years with his faux painting skills. Well, David, it's got to be a challenge when a homeowner wants you to match existing wood and the graining with a mantel that was painted white. Now, how did that come about?
Well, they decided to do that as opposed to stripping it down or just doing a regular glazed faux finish or something like that on it, just to create a nice wood feeling in here.
Now, why not strip it down? That's the first thing most homeowners think, is if they want to return something that's painted, and you hear that a lot with doors and so forth, to just strip it down and restain it. Why wouldn't you do that in this case?
Well, you could, but you're not really sure what kind of wood's underneath there either.
Now, I've seen you do a lot of this kind of work, and you do make it look very, very easy, but what's involved in something like this?
Well, it is pretty easy. I'm just kidding. Sometimes certain parts of it are, and there are certain things that homeowners can do themselves. But in this particular one with the pines, you see, I've used the gadget before, the little dragger grainer that you can get at most hardware stores for the main part of it. And then you use stiff brushes and then certain other combing tools to get the side grains and all.
But the color and the hue of the wood and everything matches so well. I guess that's quite a challenge with the gold color that you have here.
That's part of the trick. It just comes with experience and playing with colors and experimenting till you get where you want it.
Now, historically, this has really been done for many, many years.
Oh yeah, back centuries ago in Europe and all, we get our traditions from here. Most of the painters were skilled in the art of graining and marbling also. But it's phenomenal. Even in the 1750s in our country, there are historic homes that you can tour and see wood graining and marbling that was done back in those days. And the people could have afforded the real good quality wood, but it was fashionable for the wealthy to be able to come and pay an artist to come replicate that look.
Yeah, of course. A little bragging rights there, I guess. Now, for a homeowner to do a few of the things, maybe this is a little too advanced for someone, especially a feature mantel like this in a home, but what are some of the things And what are some of the places in a home that maybe a homeowner can get their feet wet on this a little bit?
Well, a lot of times you'll have a paneled room and then you'll have a metal door.
Right. Oh,
so
okay.
that's a good thing there. And they could, as long as they play with their colors and put like a golden color undertone, and then you could actually just drag out the streaks without doing all the fancy work in it. And if you get the colors right, a lot of times they look real close to wood and you can fool a lot of your friends. And it'd be a good conversation piece.
Well, this is definitely a good conversation piece. You did a great job on this.
Here's another great example of how paint is used to create the look of a different material. This is called fantasy marble. Now, I'm told that this is not too tough to learn. I would still leave it to the pros, and I've got a couple of pros with me here. We've got Carol Vonish, Deborah Lyles, no relation, we don't think. So Carol, tell me, fantasy marble, how do you create this?
This column was originally a white form, and what we've done is put in a mid-range base coat on it. And what I'm doing now is applying a lighter shade of glaze with a paint infused in it. Okay. And I'm just sponging this on. This technique is simple to do because it is the sponging technique, and the secret in it is just doing layers of it, many layers. And the average person with limited knowledge on faux finishing could do this column.
You know, you looked straight at me when you said limited knowledge.
No.
I understand, really, I really do.
Okay, all right.
So from there, where do we go?
All right, from here, Deb is starting our drifts.
In order to create the drifts, we'll use colors that are on the opposite end of the palette. Like the darkest and the lightest, we'll lay them in right beside each other, and that will create all the movement.
And one of the things about this technique is there is no veining in the it's drifts of color.
So that's the difference between marbling and fantasy marble.
And fantasy marble, but we don't do any type of veining in this process.
On average, how long is it going to take to do one column?
Average, it takes about 4 to 5 hours to do.
In that amount of time, I think we've got time to watch Danny's thinking game.
The first written dictionary was found in ancient Syria, dating back to around 2300 BC. Since then, a lot more words have been added, and every year we add a few more. And one of the newest words is a direct result of the green movement, but it's not a very good one. It's called greenwashing, and unfortunately, it's becoming a habit of some unethical manufacturers. Basically, it means a company tries to pass themselves or a product off as green in order to cover up other ungreen practices. And if one company gets away with it, more will follow suit. Aside from being misleading, it can damage consumer confidence in the products that really are green. Consumer watchdogs like Rate It Green and the Green Guide are good sources to turn to when you have any question or doubt. So if you really want to think green, make sure it's green all the way through and not just greenwashed. I hope you enjoyed our look at these home improvement illusions. Now, the idea is not to make something that looks like something else, but to create a product that's superior to the original so that it improves the performance and the appearance of the products you use on your home. In some cases, this will cost a little bit more than the real thing. In other cases, a little bit less. But you have to weigh those benefits, especially if you're paying a little bit more. And you also have to ask yourself, are you going to be happy with the color and the style of the products that you pick out? Because they will last a long, long time. Keep an open mind. Make sure you do your homework, and I'm sure you'll find the right things for your home. Hey, thanks for being with us. I'm Danny Lipford. Home improvement projects can take on a life of their own, and next week that's happening at my house with a bath update that's supposed to be minor.
I'm not an electrician, I just play one on TV.
This week we're looking at a variety of products that are This week we're looking at a number of a variety.